It is Thursday, December 11th. We've got major flooding in the Pacific Northwest. We're going to talk about that today. Over a foot of rain, easy in many places. It is catastrophic flooding in parts of Washington, and it's going to continue for the next day, even though the rain is going to die down. So we look into the atmospheric river, which is a very strong one in the Pacific Northwest. And we look at a model shift in California in general, which we're waiting to get rid of. California is waiting to get rid of that valley fog, which has been living in the valley for weeks now. That's going to change. At least the models have changed. So there's a pretty significant model shift. So there's some light at the end of the tunnel, not just for the fog, but for rain and snow in the mountains for snowmaking. The dense fog advisory does persist today, and it will persist for a couple of days in areas. And we are gonna look at a lot of live cameras and do some nature snacks as well. I'm doing things a little different today. I'm gonna start doing the models up front. So we're gonna go right to what we're doing now, Pacific Northwest. I'm gonna go right to our models. So the forecast will be front loaded, nature snacks, live cameras, conversation on the back end. I think that makes sense, right? That way you don't have to sit through stuff, even though you could still scrub if you want to. Maybe you scrub past the models, you scrub to the nature snacks. I don't know. All right, welcome. As we look at that atmospheric river, it is a big one. It's coming from way out in the Pacific. It is creating a ridge of high pressure, and you're like, well, Bill, how does a ridge, here's California, right, in the Pacific Northwest, right? This is where all the flooding is. And what you can see is, and we often talk about this is the jet stream. Right here, that's upper level winds. When this trough area digs, which is what's happening, it amplifies the ridge. And as it amplifies the ridge, it's going to take that, and you can see it actually in motion, takes this atmospheric river and pushes it upward. So it moves up into Canada for the most part and leaves Washington, drops the rain chances down significantly over the next 24 hours. There'll be some showers, but not like the 14 inches of rain they've seen in the last couple of days, and even more than that. I've seen actually more rain than that in places in Washington, plus all the snow melt. So we're seeing a change in the pattern, in the overall pattern, although for California, you're like, that's a big ridge of high pressure. Although we do talk about when it digs, it amplifies. And when it amplifies, it gets weaker. The taller a ridge gets, the more amplified it is, the easier it is to undercut it, like a river, like an oxbow. If you live on a river, you know what I'm talking about. Oxbows are areas that cut. And that's what'll happen here probably in the next week or so. So that's some good news as well. This is the rainfall in the Pacific Northwest. And I just picked out the 1423. That's significant rain. Now you're raining on snow, so you're melting quite a bit of snow, and that has a lot to do with this rainfall. Stampede Pass had 14 inches over the last, they got 72, we're looking at 72 hours on this one, on 3 days, and there's more rain coming today, and there's a lot of snow melt. So very aggressive rainfall, and then there's the have-nots. You go further south, not as much rain, just an inch of rain around Eugene and in the hills around Eugene, and Eugene proper, more like a tenth of an inch of rain, a little quarter inch of rain. So the rain really falling out in the mountainous areas, in the orographically favored areas of Pacific Northwest and Washington. So the flood watch, they do this, and it's smart. This is out of the National Weather Service office out of Tacoma. They're going, when you hear warning, they're just lining this up so you go, okay, what is a warning and a watch? When you hear a watch, it's like, okay, yeah, got it, right? There's a high surf watch today. The surf's going to come up, or it could come up. It might come up, may not come up. The flood warning or the surf warning means it's big, it's gnarly, and it's happening now. And this flood warning is much warranted because as you look at Seattle zone, this is Washington Weather Service page, from Bellingham all the way south to Tacoma, these are flood warnings in the Cascades. So these rivers are being inundated, and there is major flooding, catastrophic flooding, and more pictures will come out tonight as the rain dies down. The rivers are still going to rise because of the melting snow, because of the rain that's falling to the north. You don't have to be under the 14 inches of rain to have flooding, because the 14 inches of rain is in the mountains, drifts off to the east side, and 100 miles away, that river drains and gets into a position where they're going to see high water. So just an immense amount of rain and rivers flooding in the Pacific Northwest. And I said earlier, I said they're set up for rainfall and flooding. They are, just topographically, geographically, they're set up for it. But when you get melting snow and you get a very warm, unusually warm atmospheric river, I mean, it's snowing raining up around 10,000 feet, even higher than that, that's not unheard of, but doesn't happen a lot in December. Good morning. Hey, thanks for subscribing. I saw a lot of you guys signed up. I appreciate it. We're trying to do the weather stuff up front, and then we just do some weather conversation, California conversation, and stuff on the back end. You can stick around if you want. This is California. Northern California. There's that beach hazard statement. What does it mean? That's that blue. This is the National Weather Service saying, okay, these are things to watch out for. Dense valley fog right here, right? And that makes sense. We got it. And then these blue areas represent beach concerns, which is just, the swell's coming up. I was just looking at it. It is fairly decent size. It's probably 6 to 8. Might go 6 to 8 to 10 tomorrow, and then comes back down. It's not massive. The tide's not as aggressive right now. The high tide at San Francisco is it's not that high. It's like just around 5-6 feet, and it drops down to a foot or so. So it's not this big swing in tides that we've been seeing. Here is the dense fog advisory out of Hanford, and you notice the fog. You're like, well, that's cool. There's no fog here. No, there's fog here. What's happened is the fog's been in the valley so long that the dense fog is now up off the ground, now in Hanford and Fresno. It's up off the ground so you can see, but it's the inversion now is really densely packed. So you go up in elevation. You can do this too up around, say, Auburn and places out of Sacramento or just outside of Paradise. You're going to see the fog really dense. A little bit of wind down in Paso Robles and San Luis Obispo, and the dense fog advisory will persist for a few days despite the changes that I've talked about that are coming. This is San Diego area. This is just them saying, haha, look at us. We got a lot of warmth. It's been nice, man. The coastal California weather has been, you will see this coming up, but 60s, 70s, and 80s. I'm talking those 60s in Crescent City and Humboldt. And then we're talking today, San Clemente. I don't know if you can see these. These are pretty light. But this is their National Weather Service page saying, look at this. Elsinore, 85 degrees. Escondido, 80 degrees. El Cajon, 81 degrees. It's warm. Okay, right to the models. And let's see what we got here. I wonder what happened there. That's weird. Okay. Somehow I got a bad anomalous thing there. Let's take a look. This is the Atmospheric River. Sorry for the adjusting. And you can see right here, right? And that's the Pacific Northwest. I've got it circled. So if you watch over the next couple hours, see how it pulls north, right? So what happened there? This is a model, by the way. This is the GFS. This is precipitable water, surface to aloft. This trough is digging. This ridge is amplifying. And as it does, the moisture goes north. I hope that's not too complex. And then this is a good little model, because what this shows us is it shows us not the engine, but the fuel. The engine comes up. That's the vorticity. That's the upper level jet winds. This is the moisture. Is there moisture around? If there's not moisture around, you're not going to get much going on. There's moisture around, but you see, first of all, that the moisture gets pulled away. And then see that browns over California, Washington, Oregon. That's a real quick dry out on Friday afternoon. Really quick dry out. And stays dry. And then you see what appears to be another AR potential, right? And that would be a signature for an AR. And you see it kind of doing that. So that's our change in California. That's around the 16th. That's pretty good. And then it dries out again, but then I see something else. So there's fuel in the area. Will that phase in with the motor? This is the motor. This is the vorticity, upper level winds. Vorticities just spin in the atmosphere. And when things spin counterclockwise in the atmosphere vorticity, the air rises and expands, right? So that's when the reds. And when things spin clockwise, the greens, essentially the greens, the greens, spin clockwise, they sink. So air counterclockwise, the reds rise, that's positive vorticity. And then the greens and the areas of negative NVA sink. I know, that's more than you need to know, although when I say vorticity, don't get scared, it's just spin. And spin is counterclockwise spin indicates an unstable air mass, a wind shear potential or some kind of a mechanism for rain. So we just looked at, okay, here's where the rain is, or the water. Now we're looking at where is the match that's going to spark this thing. And this is it right here, so, or the engine, if you will. But you see that big ridge of high pressure? You see this trough digging, I think you see it, and then see the ridge kind of starts to translate. When I say, I'm looking at the ridge axis. That's the ridge axis. See where it's just the tips of the ridge, the top of it. Watch it move. See? And so it's that simple. And then so that's the breakdown of this ridge that has been omnipresent. So here we are Friday, more of the same. Saturday, more of the same. Drying in the Pacific Northwest, fortunately for them. Sunday, more of the same. Monday morning, Pacific Northwest gets back into the rain, but with a different kind of weather pattern, a little cooler. Still a lot of subtropical moisture getting pulled in. And then that looks pretty juicy, right? Because those reds represent, we know there's moisture around on the 16th. Remember we looked at the water vapor, or at the precipitable water. And you go, oh, look, there's this counterclockwise spin, reds, air lifting. And so that's going to phase in. And how precise is this going to be? Not, but it's a good idea what's going to happen. This is a GFS. GFS is a little more, not very granular, but it gets you a good idea. That's a pretty wet pattern right there, especially for Northern California. And then, right, that's a wet pattern. That's what we call zonal flow. That's interesting. You talk about, remember yesterday we were talking, okay, so that's that's just way down the road, but that's a very encouraging pattern, this whole thing, compared to what we've been looking at. So we said yesterday, I said, listen, because remember the last 2 days I got a little glum because I'm like, it looks bad on the models. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Well, it did look bad. It looked dry all the way through December until about Christmas. Now we just see a break in the models where it's actually speeding up and dropping the jet stream a little lower and putting us into an environment where we have a shot at rain as early as next week. This is the sea level pressure global forecast model, GFS, and more of the same. This is California and Oregon and northern Baja. This is Sunday. Nothing much goes on, right? So just get ready for more of the same through the weekend. But here comes the beginning of that breakdown of that ridge. That's the 16th, remember? So 16th, right? Northern California is getting rain. Even a little bit of snow based on what I'm seeing. It's not horribly cold, but it's going to be, there's a front with it. And that's really encouraging. That's the 17th. That's big rain in Crescent City. That's over an inch, maybe 2 inches. And then it slips south. It looks like a pretty warm storm, but it's dropping south into Lake Tahoe, into the Bay Area by next Wednesday night. And then it stays. So, I know. And then that's on December 20th. And then that's a straight up frontal system. Now, the first bits of rain, this first part here, all this dropping down, that's kind of a zonal flow orographic, kind of an AR, kind of a signature. We'll see if that transpires. But this is actually an extratropical system right here. You see that? So that's for the mountains. They're going, okay, that's your snow event. That's December 22nd. So interesting how much has changed. So we looked at that. We went way out. Here's what we know. We know the next couple of days are going to be a lot like the way they've been, except in the Pacific Northwest where things start to dry out. And you'll see that here. This is rainfall accumulation over this is through this afternoon. And that's pretty good for Pacific Northwest. That's awesome. So they're getting a break, right? So that's really nice to see. So after 10 to 15 to 18 inches of rain with snow melt, the rainfall accumulation map all the way through the weekend looks pretty light. So that's a break for them. We'll look at California's rainfall accumulation, and it's going to, it's that 16th, December 16th seems to be the breaking point for that ridge. So here we are, December 16th, right? This is rainfall accumulation, and you'll see really big, man, look at that. Look at God, Crescent City. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Just like that extreme dry period that we looked at a couple of days ago, that didn't happen, right? So these models, it's zonal flows really don't do well with this. In other words, it's hard. They change quickly when the jet stream isn't undulating, when it's going flatline, like kind of meridional, we call it, from west to or east to west to east, kind of flatline. It buckles and it moves depending on the jet core, the speed of the jet winds in the core. If they're really going strong, it can undulate, and it changes and moves around quickly. Franny's gonna bark, you guys. Sorry, Franny, stop. It's my little dog. Anyway, so that the models don't do real well with that. So you can see here we've got, right? And that's a really good storm. Now this is on the 21st, 23rd, and 21st. So that's all very, very, very good rainfall. Look at that. So that's a really awesome. Hold on a second, I'm gonna get the dog. Hey, Franny, what are you doing? Okay, that was the dog. That's Francis. Little dog, never had one before. They are, you know what? There's a reason nature, their species survive, because they're so cute. But then they're kind of yappy. I know. I've never had a little dog, but I love her. She's awesome. That was, I think, I've got a guy working on the house. I think she saw him. But they are pretty cute. Jeez. I would say it's my wife's dog, but it's quickly becoming my dog too. Okay. So anyway, what did we see? We just saw a really good shift to a wet pattern, which is potential. Doesn't mean it's in stone, but could happen. And this is the big picture, rainfall accumulation, right? So this is day after day. Like this is, okay, there's 12 hours and add 12 more hours. It's just adding up. But I want you to see the patterns. This interesting how it follows the jet stream, isn't it? Yeah. And then there it is. That's the 16th. See California. And then it goes. Southern California finally gets into it. You guys around Christmas. That 22nd weather event looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Okay. So there you go. We did it. We did weather. Thanks for joining me today. Now we kind of do what we call live cameras, which is awesome. These are live cameras around the state of California. And pretty soon we're going to have them all over the country. Well, they're all over the country, but this is UC San Diego Alert California, which is probably the most, it's on my links page. It's probably the most awesome site. This alone is worth it. This is a live picture of Mount Shasta. I mean, check it out. Isn't that beautiful? Look at the fog in there. This is this morning. Oh, by the way, it's raining like cats and dogs just a couple hundred miles north of here. But look at this. That's stunning. Mount Shasta. Not 14. What's 14? I can't remember what Shasta is. Shasta's 14. I have it written down only because I used to know it. Mount Shasta's 14,179. 14,179 feet tall. Mount Whitney is 14,505 feet tall. So they're pretty close. But Shasta stands out a lot because it's so by itself in the plain. And there it is again. This is from, where is this one from? This is from Goose Lake. And that's Mount Shasta. Off in the distance. I don't know if you can see it. Depends. If you're looking on your phone, you won't see it. But Northeast California today is going to go 60, in the low 60s today. Beautiful shot. And look at the difference between us and Seattle and Pacific Northwest. This is Crescent City. You guys have been crushing it in terms of weather. Low 60s today. This is the Smith River Basin looking out towards the coast. if you've been crab fishing, I don't know. I shouldn't do this because I don't want to crowd it out. But they are crushing the crabs. I don't know about Crescent City, but in San Francisco off Ocean Beach, don't tell anybody. But it's like they're killing it because you know how you fish for crab. It's kind of a newer thing. It's been going on forever, but it's more of a it's gotten popular. But I mean, I'm seeing guys pulling 8, 9, 10 crabs, big crabs. You know what a crab is worth? I mean, I don't even know what a crab is worth, but I want to say they're worth like $50, $60 a crab. Think about that, right? So for 10 crabs, it's what is that? $50 or $500? Wow, wow, yeah. Okay, so just doing the math. Crescent City. I love these live cameras. Like, I mean, look at that, right? Again, we're looking at Mount Shasta from a third point right here, right? There's Mount Shasta. You're looking at Redding, right? And then down to Red Bluff. And what I love about this is you can see the fog and how it kind of tails off as you get up into a little higher elevations. Redding has a little bit of climb, but that might be my new favorite shot. We used to. This is Anderson. We used to play Anderson in football. And I was at Paradise, and every year it was our first game of the year, and we scheduled it, and they would kick the crap out of us every year. But we were they were just big guys, farm kids, and we were kind of aggressive too because we were like mountain guys. But Anderson was the team, and the first game was preseason. They were out of our league, and we would get our fannies kicked. And the coaches did it on purpose because Anderson, they were really big, and they were kind of pissed off cowboys. And we were kind of more, I don't know what our deal was, but they were big kids, and they beat. But my point is, I'm getting there. So they literally, somehow at the end of the season, we would win North Section. We'd somehow beat the teams to beat them. And I never understood it. It was such a in our head thing. Anderson, we never came close to beating Anderson when I played, but we beat them in terms of rankings every year. I know. And if you're from Anderson, you know what I'm talking about. You guys just had your way with the Paradise guys. Okay, this is, where are we here? Oh, this looks like Mount Tamalpais. Mill Valley today is just going to be in the 50s. This is where San Francisco should be. That's Sutro Tower, I think. Yeah, that's Sutro Tower, Pacifica, Golden Gate Bridge right here, right? And if I put a loop on it, this is one of my favorite shots just because it shows the inversion really nicely. Look at that. You can see, sometimes you can see the bridge poke through. There's Sutro there. Can't see it. If you're on a phone, you'll never see it. This is from today, my friends. It's awesome. Awesomeness. And then this is, where are we? Mount Diablo. Mount Diablo is this camera is at 3,500 feet. Down in the fog, down in the Livermore Valley. Livermore Valley right in there. It's going to go 47 degrees. Modesto, 45 degrees. I'm seeing numbers in this pea soup that are staying in the 40s all day. And they will. We're not going to see a change for a little while. Maybe I'll put a loop on that too. Thanks for hanging around. I like doing this. I think I kind of like doing the, isn't that pretty? I like doing the models off the top. And we do the same models I try to do the same stuff over and over so you can get used to looking at them. Because that's all models are. They're road maps. You know, when you first look at a road map, you're going on a trip and you're like, especially if you look at one of the old paper ones, like that, one of the Rand McNally's or something. They're very, there's a lot of stuff on a road map. This is fog in Walnut Grove. Walnut Grove in the Delta. Dude, you guys are in, man. You are in. That is you're solid 42 degrees today. Let's see, you can see anything. Ooh. Oh yeah, look, you can see the inversion. Saw blue sky for just a minute. Walnut Grove, no. Oh, getting eaten by the fog, man. And then this is Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe, it's already in the 40s. We'll look at some skiing coming up. Lake Tahoe, they're not hitting freezing in some places overnight, so they're not making snow. This inversion has been hell on the snowmaking equipment. This is Round Mountain, Fresno. This is out in the Fresno Valley. This is down towards Bakersfield. I like this shot. This is a new shot I found too. 45 degrees in Bakersfield for a daytime high today. And You can kind of, that's the tail end of the valley, right? All the way down. This is the old Tulare Lake, right? That was used to be the largest lake west of the Mississippi. And it occasionally comes back when you get a little bit of rain, but it was huge. And there was a huge ecosystem built around it. They drained it, they dried it, and they farmed it. That's what happened. And they, Boswell and all the big farmers came in, and that, imagine having a lake bed, getting it drained out, and all that fresh soil. They grew a bunch of cotton. I think they even tried to grow tobacco in there at some point. But the cotton, I think it was the largest cotton even more than the South. They were producing more cotton in here back in the early 1900s. You can check me on that. It's a Google search away. That's just coming off my head. This is Santa Barbara, where, oh my God, it's been unreal. It's been 75, 85 degrees in Santa Barbara. Really nice. This is Mount Wilson, which is up over 5,600 feet. And we're looking towards Chino. Chino's going to go 75 degrees. I dated a girl from Chino once, a long time ago when I was at the beach visiting. She's really nice. No, Chino. I never, from Paradise, right? You never, Chino, where's that? I thought it was Chico. This is Encinitas, looking towards Encinitas, 79 degrees. It's down towards San Diego. It's beautiful. And then these are the forecast highs for today. Kind of running out of time, so I'm going to have to skip through earthquakes. Just know earthquakes not as, this is the forecast for today. See the Central Valley, how cool it is. And then forecast for tomorrow stays cool. But look at these coastal temperatures. Eureka 63 tomorrow, 66 in Big Sur, 70 in Monterey. So just for December, these are really, really warm daytime highs. We'll take a quick look at the surf. Right here, there's San Francisco's Ocean Beach today. It's a little bigger. They have that surf watch out along the coast. So we'll keep an eye out for that. These are nature snacks we're doing right now. I kind of got a little ahead of myself. My scheduling, because I moved the models up front. So I'm sort of like, I only got 30 minutes on this camera. And I'm going to keep it that way too, because you don't want me going too long. So and then this is Halama, Tip of Point Conception. These are live cameras from Surfline. Halama looks head high, just so like I get a wave. And then beautiful day. Halama's going to be in the 70s. Mount Shasta, beautiful. Mount Whitney, beautifuler, or beautiful as. And then we can go, I'm clicking through these pretty quick. It's 43 degrees right now at North Star, and they are skiing at 43 degrees. I don't even know if they hit freezing last night. So they're not making snow. So they got their fingers crossed that they're keeping things going. It's 43 degrees at Mammoth. Mammoth's doing it, right? That's beautiful. Mammoth crushed it in snow this year. They made it. They got more, so they had a bigger base. Farallon Islands, looking off at the North Farallones. And what else we got for you? Yosemite Falls, beautiful. I am so getting ready. The camera could click off on us, but isn't that beautiful? Good time of year to go to Yosemite. Really good time of year. Shh, don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody about crabbing or going to Yosemite this time of year. And then we go to Venice Beach, and we got through it. These guys look at these guys all dressed up. I love it. They're dressed like it's winter, man. It's like, it's not that cold. It's Venice Beach. Yeah, I guess it is cold. Anyway, Venice Beach, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you like the new format. I'll figure out the timing as we go into next week, the next couple of days. But just more of the same. But there is a real good